council packet.
And Dan, before you go any further, could you back up there for a minute? Thank you. I was asked to, it's been a while, there was an article in the Fresno Bee in regard to tiered water charges, and there was the city of San Juan Capistrano was contesting that. It ended up in court. So I had forgotten about it, and here we are again, so I thought an appropriate time to ask. So I Googled it today, and there's several cities who've gotten on board to contest this tiered water rate structure. And I'm understanding that there's supposed to be a decision made by the appeals court sometime this month. Are you familiar with this at all?
I'm not.
There's a pending challenge under Prop 218.
Yes.
The higher rates, whether or not you have, because the higher rates solely for conservation, but not based on your actual costs. That issue is being contested right now, even though the governor said you have to have these tiered rates.
Right.
Thirds of tiered rates.
But this is even prior to that, right? Correct.
This has nothing. That has nothing to do
Yes.
with drought regulations.
Yeah, I can speak to that a little bit. The real issue is there is in place state law that says that you can only charge customers the amount that it takes to deliver the water to them. And with the tiered pricing, and in order to get cities to conserve more, they're trying to raise the rates, but those rates then go above what it costs cities to provide the water. And so in effect, they're going, knocking heads with existing state law. And that's what the courts are trying to decide on. And the number of factors are, there's a bunch of them. It's a mess.
So from what I was reading today, they're supposed to be making a decision, or they're hoping for a decision within the middle of this month. So my question is, if the decision is made in front of the city in favor of the people who are contesting this tiered program, how is that going? Because we have that in most all cities in the state of California. How's that going to affect us in regard to water rates?
Let me just make one comment. So I think Councilmember Rain explained it very well. But if that happens, and unless it, maybe it's set aside, it's appealed further. But if that is the rule ultimately.
Right.
The counterattack really is to say, okay, everybody pays same rates, but if you go over, now it's a penalty. So you're going to collect it as a penalty. So it's not part of your rate. The city has these standards, these rates, and so it's going to take a whole changing and different calculations. And let Dan address that.
Yeah, you bring up a good topic. It was about 3 years ago. It was at the time of the funding for the second Palmer tank that I did a cost of service study for the city. And the purpose of the cost of service study is in fact to assure that each customer class is paying for water service that's in proportion to the cost to serve them. That's why it's called cost of service. And what came out of that, the biggest change was to the state hospital and the state prison, because they are a similar customer class. And at that time we discovered that their rates were different, and they needed to be charged like they were the same type of customer. So we have done cost of service such that each customer class is charged in proportion to what it costs to serve them. And the customer classes, as you can see, are broken out right there. Urban residential, urban commercial, rural, because they're outside of town, and then the prison and the state hospital. But then beyond that, the rates that are set overall result in a revenue, as I showed you, which meets debt service coverage and covers the legitimate government cost with just a little bit more. So that's defensible. And then finally, with regard to the tiered structure that's in place for urban residential, which we put in place about 3 years ago as well, the sum total of dollars that are collected from the tiered rates total the cost to serve that customer class. That's how I do the rates. So once I come up with the amount of money that's needed for residential, I spread it out to the first and the second and the third tier. And the tiers are defined there, equal across the customer class. 10,000, I know this is probably more, but this is important that people know and important for the record as well. 10,000 is the wintertime baseload for a typical residential customer. And it's easy to see because nobody's really watering. Well, didn't used to water in the winter. So we could establish that. And then there's the middle tier, and the top tier is only 13%, only 13% of overall residential sales. It's not that much.